what's up everyone? GameDad here, and we are back with part 4 of my current NES collection. So come with me as we check out what games are on the list. Adventures of Lolo was released by HAL Laboratory in 1989 and is a fun puzzle adventure kind of game where you move around different blocks and objects, you get rid of enemies, and it allows you to be able to collect a key and move on to the next level. Adventures of Lolo 2 by HAL Laboratory was released in 1990 and is a continuation of the Lolo franchise. As you can see, my cart right here has some pretty rough label damage, and I wasn't able to capture any footage, but it's another fun Lolo game. And moving right along, we have Adventures of Lolo 3, released by HAL Laboratory in 1991. Again, this continues the story, but this time it gives you a bit of a overworld map, which the previous games didn't actually have. It has the same puzzle mechanics though, so it's still super fun. Loops was released by Mindscape in 1990 and is another kind of puzzle game, but this time it has you taking different objects and stuff to create different loops on the screen, and every time you create a new loop, you get more points and that loop goes away, and so on and so forth. Maniac Mansion was released by Lucasfilm Games in 1990, and in this game you go on a point-and-click adventure and you are trying to solve different mysteries within the mansion. Marble Madness was released by Rare in 1989, and this is actually one of my first memories of NES games. In this, you actually play as a little marble, and the point is to get from point A to point B without either cracking the marble or falling off the ledge. Mario Bros. Was released by Nintendo in 1986, and this takes the actual Mario Bros. Arcade game and puts it on the NES. So you go through and you're trying to take out the different turtles and different enemies while avoiding fireballs and collecting coins. Mega Man was released by Capcom in 1987 and is the first of a long line of various Mega Man games. The premise has always been the same. You fight some bosses, you earn some powers, and those help you fight even more bosses. Mega Man 2 was released by Capcom in 1989 and, in my opinion, is a drastic improvement over the original game. The graphics are better, the gameplay is more fine-tuned, and even the menu selection even looks just so much better. Mega Man 3 was released by Capcom in 1990 and is actually my first memory of a Mega Man game. My friends and I would play this game for hours trying to get to Dr. Wily and just beat the game. There is so much to be had in this game. I really think that this is when the series really hit its stride. Mega Man 4 was released by Capcom in 1992, and this is just another classic Mega Man game on the NES. I mean, you go through, you fight your different bosses, then eventually you are able to unlock and go after Dr. Wily. And here we have Mega Man 5, released by Capcom in 1992, and Capcom just kept running with, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They added some new abilities, things like that, as the games got more advanced, but overall, it was the exact same gameplay premise. And here we have Mega Man 6, the last one to be released on the NES, and this was released by Capcom in 1994, and again, they were following that same good old-fashioned formula that they had been for the previous 5 games. Now here we have the original Metal Gear, released by Konami in 1988, and in this game you experience kind of a isometric / top-down kind of view. You go through, you get constant, what seems like never-ending messages on the radio, and then you fight some baddies. Here is Metroid, released by Nintendo in 1987, and this is the game that started it all. That creepy intro music, and all those awesome powers that Samus Aran has. Up next is Mickey Mousecapade, released by Hudson Soft in 1988, and in this game you get to play as Minnie and Mickey. You go through kind of a tag team platforming action kind of game. So, I mean, it's pretty fun. It has its quirks, but it's alright. And here is the follow-up to the classic Centipede. We have Millipede, released by HAL Laboratory in 1988. And the gameplay in this is essentially the same. To me, the game feels a little bit faster and feels like they just added a few extra things overall. I mean, I prefer Centipede. And here is Mission Impossible, released by Konami in 1990. And in this game, you go through kind of top-down, but also side-scroller. And you are facing off with different enemies. You're going on the different missions, should you choose to accept. And you just go from there. Up next is NES Open Tournament Golf, released by Nintendo in 1991. And it is just golf with Mario. I mean, the game overall I don't think is very fun. There are better golf games on the NES, but I mean, Nintendo had to throw their hat into the ring as well. And here we have Ninja Gaiden, released by Tecmo in 1989. And this has got to be one of the most difficult games on the NES. I mean, it's just insanely hard to play this game, but it's also extremely fun to play this game. I really enjoy the Ninja Gaiden series. Up next, we have Ninja Gaiden 2, The Dark Sword of Chaos, released by Tecmo in 1990. And this is a continuation of the Ninja Gaiden trilogy on the NES. The gameplay overall is the same, and I would say that this one isn't as difficult as the first one, but still fun. And lastly, we have Ninja Gaiden 3, The Ancient Ship of Doom, released by Tecmo in 1991. And again, this is a continuation of that trilogy on the NES. They keep with the same classic gameplay, and this one adds a few new elements and enemies, but that's about it. Up next, we got Pac-Man, released by Namco in 1993, and this is a way better home port than the one that was on the Atari. Man, was that one crap, and is this one not. This one is darn near arcade perfect and is a blast to play. And here we have Paperboy 2, released by Tengen in 1992, 4 years after the original one. So as you can see, there's a bit of a graphics upgrade. I don't really like how everything is kind of mirrored compared to the original Paperboy, and it seems a lot more zoomed in. But overall, I mean, it's still a fun Paperboy game. And up next we have Pinball, released by Nintendo in 1985, and this is actually one of the launch titles for the NES. It's one of the original black box games. Now, it is very simplistic, but it does exactly what you would expect it to do. It is a pinball game. And now for a better pinball game. This is Pinbot, released by Rare in 1990, and this game comes with better graphics, better gameplay, and all around just a better experience playing pinball on the NES. And up next is an old classic, that is Pipe Dream, released by Distinctive Software in 1990. And the whole object behind this game is you got some ooze that's coming and you got to lay down some pipe, that way it has somewhere to go. And here is another one of my homebrews. This is Pokemon Yellow, otherwise known as the Special Pikachu Edition, released by the Video Games Database in, I believe, 2018. Now, my Retron 5 couldn't capture any footage of this, but it is totally Pokemon Yellow on the NES. It's awesome. And here is another classic on the NES, and that is Popeye, released by Nintendo in 1986. Now, this one is normally seen as an arcade game, and personally, I think it's a lot better as an arcade game. The NES version was pretty much mediocre at best. Here we have Pro Wrestling, released by Nintendo in 1987, and this is where you get to choose your favorite wrestler, go out, and just duke it out in the ring. Pretty fun, but I'm not a huge wrestling game fan overall. Here we have Punch-Out, released by Nintendo in 1990, and this one was actually the later release. So this one is the same game as the next one you'll see in the list, except they changed a few of the characters around because of licensing issues. And here's the original one. We got Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, released by Nintendo in 1987. Again, same kind of game, but Mike Tyson is actually the boss at the end of the game. So you get to go through, play all through the different characters, and then at the end you get to face the king of the ring himself, Mike Tyson. Here's a super fun game on the NES, and that is Q*bert, released by Konami in 1989. You go around as this weird little character named Q*bert, and you are just trying to light up all the different tiles. It's got a very weird control scheme that takes a little bit to get used to, but once you get the hang of it, it's a really fun game. Here we have RC Pro-Am, released by Rare in 1988, and this is probably one of my favorite games on the NES. I remember countless hours playing through this game. It's just so much fun because you get to play as essentially micro machines that are radio controlled. And here we have RC Pro-Am 2, released by Rare in 1992, and in this one, you actually get a few more options. You get to race as some different vehicles, and you also get to upgrade your vehicle a lot more. So this game was actually a pretty cool one to add to the collection. Up next, we have Rad Racer, released by Square in 1987, and in this game, you get to take on some classic racing action, and you just drive down that road, but be careful of those turns. And here we have Rad Racer 2, released by Square in 1990. And in this game, you get a lot of the same classic action you did in the original Rad Racer, except you also get some better gameplay and actually what I think is dramatically improved graphics overall. And the last game for this video is Rambo, released by Pac-In Video in 1988. And in this one, you get to go through as Rambo and have some classic action going on, taking out the baddies. So that is everything in part 4 of my current NES collection. Please let me know down in the comments below what you thought of today's video, and also be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, as well as that little notification bell so you can alert every time I got a new video coming out. Now, as always, I'm GameDad. I thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you later.